It used to be simple. If you wanted a motorcycle that screamed America, attitude, and open road rebellion, you bought a cruiser. You bought a Harley. But somewhere along the way, something changed. Because now, younger riders, they're not showing up in leather and tassels. They're showing up on nakeds, adventure bikes, mini motos, and electrics. So today, we're asking the question, is the cruiser dead? I'm Matthew from Autozium, and let's talk about why younger riders are ditching Harleys. Reason number one, price versus value. Let's be real, money talks. And when you're young, possibly juggling student loans, rent, a second job, and rising living costs, dropping Harley-Davidson money on a motorcycle is no small ask. An entry-level Harley like the Iron 883 or the newer Nightster might seem appealing at first glance, but start stacking the numbers and it gets messy. You're looking at $13,000 before you even factor in freight, setup, taxes, and dealer markups. And that's just the base bike. Add in the usual must-haves, aftermarket pipes, bar swaps, saddlebags, maybe a different seat, and suddenly that starter cruiser costs more than your car. Meanwhile, a Yamaha MT-07 is sitting on the showroom floor for under 9 calories. Same with the Suzuki SV650 or the Honda CB650R. All are lightweight, fun, torquey, beginner-friendly bikes that don't feel like a compromise. Then you've got options like the Royal Enfield Meteor 350, under 5 calorie brand new with fuel injection, ABS, and retro charm baked in. And let's not forget about the used market. You can find a lightly used naked or sport touring bike in excellent condition for half the price of a new Harley. For a generation that values versatility and financial sanity, the math just doesn't favor traditional cruisers. Younger riders are savvy. They're not blinded by brand legacy or chrome nostalgia. They want performance and reliability without being chained to a massive loan payment. They want to ride more, spend less, and have money left over for gear, trips, and maintenance. And when you stack those priorities up against the cost of a new cruiser, it starts to feel like the cruiser isn't just priced high, it's priced out of relevance. Reason number two, ergonomics and comfort. Let's talk about something that doesn't show up on a spec sheet, how a bike feels. Cruisers look awesome. No one's denying that. They're long, low, and oozing with attitude. But once you're actually in the saddle, especially as a new rider, that's where the shine can fade a bit. You've got forward controls that stretch your legs way out, low seats that put your knees almost above your hips, and handlebars that are either too close, too far, or too wide. It might look cool when parked outside a diner, but try riding like that for 45 minutes in real-world traffic, and suddenly your back's tight, your wrists ache, and your tailbone is begging for mercy. Younger riders are leaning toward ergonomics that make sense. They want bikes that are light, upright, and versatile, commuter-friendly, traffic-friendly, something they can flick around in tight spaces and not feel like they're herding a barge on wheels. Adventure bikes, standards, and even mini motos like the Grom or Z125 Pro offer a much more natural rider triangle. Upright torso, neutral pegs, easy reach to the bars. And that comfort translates directly into confidence. For riders who live in cities, do short rides, or commute through rush hour, comfort isn't optional, it's survival. And let's not forget diversity of riders. The newer generation includes more women, more shorter riders, and more people who aren't built like 6-foot tall linebackers. Cruisers often don't accommodate that very well. You either mod the bike to fit, or you look for a bike that fits you from the start. So while cruisers win in the looks department, younger riders are asking a more practical question. Why should I sacrifice comfort just to look cool standing still? Spoiler, they're choosing comfort. And that's why the cruiser segment is struggling to keep up. Reason number three, performance and versatility. Let's not sugarcoat it. Cruisers are built to do one thing, and they usually do it well. Cruise. They're made for long, easy rides on wide open roads. Big torque down low, a comfy seat sometimes, relaxed engine character. But outside of that one lane, things get a little dicey. Try commuting in tight urban traffic on a 700-pound cruiser with a 65-inch wheelbase and limited steering lock. It's not exactly graceful. Try hustling a sharp corner on a twisty back road with limited ground clearance and a chassis that doesn't want to lean. You're scraping pegs before the fun even starts. Try taking a detour down a gravel road and, well, you're in for a bumpy time. Now let's look at what younger riders are after. They want bikes that do it all, not because they're greedy, but because it just makes sense. If you're buying one bike with your own hard earned money, you want that machine to adapt to your life, not the other way around. You've got sport nakeds like the MT09 that can commute, canyon carve, and take you on a weekend trip with some soft bags and a good attitude. You've got adventure bikes like the KTM 390 Adventure or even the Yamaha Tenere 700 that can handle city traffic one day and a fire road the next. You've got standards like the CB500F that do a little bit of everything well, without the weight or expense of bigger bikes. It's not about horsepower figures or lap times, it's about flexibility. Modern riders want to try track days. They want to take long rides with friends. They want to slap on some soft luggage and go moto camping for the weekend. And a cruiser, in its traditional form, just isn't the best platform for that kind of riding buffet. Yes, some cruisers are trying to pivot. The Indian Scout Rogue, the Honda Rebel 1100, these bikes are mixing cruiser looks with more real world capability. But compared to the sheer adaptability of other segments, they're still playing catch up. So when a new rider walks into a dealership and asks, "What can this bike do?" a lot of cruisers are stuck answering, "Well, it can cruise." And that's just not enough anymore. Reason 4, culture shift. This one cuts deep because for decades, cruiser culture was the culture. Black leather, skull patches, chrome for days, weekend warriors living out their easy rider fantasies. But guess what? The next generation of riders doesn't see themselves in that world. They didn't grow up idolizing the Sons of Anarchy lifestyle. They didn't watch Born to Be Wild on repeat. They didn't inherit the outlaw mythos that powered the Harley wave from the 70s through the 2000s. They grew up on YouTube, Reddit, and TikTok. Their idea of a biker gang is a Discord group for motorcycle camping trips. Their idea of rebellion isn't loud pipes, it's quiet freedom. Solo rides, nighttime commutes, group rides to brunch or to a national park, not a dive bar. They care less about image and more about experience. And when they look at traditional cruiser branding, what they often see is an outdated version of motorcycling. One that's overly masculine, overly loud, and overly interested in projecting toughness instead of building community. It's not that they hate cruisers, it's that they don't feel invited into that world. Modern riding culture is shifting toward inclusion. It's more female, more diverse, more about fun and less about bravado. It's about sharing the ride, not dominating the road. It's about skills, stories, and soul, not just chrome and attitude. And honestly, that's beautiful. But for legacy cruiser brands that haven't caught on yet, it's a problem. If your image doesn't evolve, neither will your customer base. And eventually, your audience starts to age out, with no one left to take the keys. So is cruiser culture dead? No. But it is changing fast. And the brands and bikes that survive will be the ones that reflect what motorcycling is today, not what it was 40 years ago. Reason number 5, technology gap. Let's be honest, tech matters. Younger riders grew up in a connected world. They've used smartphones since childhood. They're fluent in user interfaces, they expect customization, and they want real time data. So when they hop on a motorcycle, they don't just want an engine, they want an experience. They want ride modes. They want a TFT display that feels like a cockpit. They want cornering ABS, traction control, and maybe even a quick shifter for fun. Now compare that with the average cruiser. Analog gauges, no ride modes. Maybe ABS if you pay extra. The vibe is classic, sure, but for some riders, it's more like outdated. Cruisers have proudly held onto a no-nonsense identity for decades. The idea is that less tech means more purity, more mechanical connection. And for a certain kind of rider, that's perfect. But that kind of rider is becoming the exception, not the norm. Modern riders are asking, why can't I have both? Why can't I have a visceral riding experience and a fuel gauge that doesn't lie to me? Why can't I get a Bluetooth connected dash or cruise control for long trips? Walk into a dealership and look at a $16,000 cruiser with a single color LCD display. And then look at a $10,000 adventure bike with a full color dash, lean sensitive electronics, and built in navigation. The difference is jarring. And it's not just about gadgets, it's about confidence. For new riders, especially, modern tech provides a safety net. Things like cornering ABS and traction control can make the difference between a mistake and a disaster. And when that safety net doesn't exist, it becomes a major point of hesitation. The point is, younger riders aren't necessarily demanding high tech, but they've come to expect it. And when a whole class of motorcycles seems proudly resistant to that progress, it's a turnoff. Now, to be fair, brands are starting to take notice. The Harley Pan America was a big leap forward in tech, even though it's not a cruiser. The Honda Rebel 1100 comes with optional DCT, ride modes, and even cruise control. But for the bulk of the cruiser lineup, it still feels like they're stuck in 2005 while the rest of the world moved on. And in an era where your smartwatch knows your heart rate and your car parks itself, riders are asking, why can't my cruiser keep up? The twist: cruisers aren't dead, they're evolving. Okay, let's pump the brakes for a second because I know what it sounds like: doom and gloom, the end of cruisers, the Harley funeral march. But here's the thing: cruisers aren't dead, they're evolving. And honestly, it's about time because there are manufacturers out there listening to the shift. They're building lighter, smarter, more capable bikes that still hold on to that cruiser DNA, but without all the unnecessary baggage. Take the Harley Nightster. It's not your granddad's Sportster. It's water cooled. It's agile. It's got modern suspension, lean angles you can actually use, and it doesn't weigh as much as a battleship. Or look at the Indian Scout Rogue. It's sleek, it's stripped, it's still got muscle, but without the bulk. It feels like a cruiser designed by someone who's actually been stuck in traffic before. And then there's the Honda Rebel 1100, probably the biggest, wait, this is a cruiser surprise out there. DCT automatic transmission, ride modes, cruise control, lightweight chassis. It's the kind of bike that takes the essence of cruising, relaxed, torque-heavy fun, and packages it for a modern rider who wants more than just weekend bar hopping. This new wave of cruisers is leaner, smarter, more focused on actual rideability than image. And that's the key. Because at the end of the day, most riders don't care what category their bike falls into. They care about how it feels, what it lets them do, where it lets them go. And if these new cruisers can offer that freedom with fewer compromises, that's not death. That's a rebirth. The real question is, can legacy brands keep up? Will Harley lean into performance and tech without alienating their core? Will Indian balance old school appeal with modern practicality? Will more manufacturers follow Honda's lead and rethink what a cruiser can be? Because the future is still wide open. Cruisers aren't going extinct, they're just shedding their skin. And if the industry gets it right, the next generation of riders won't just tolerate cruisers, they'll want them. Not because they're loud, not because they look tough, but because they work, because they fit, because they feel damn good to ride. And that's always been the point, right? So, what does this mean for you? If you're a new rider, don't buy a bike based on image. Buy one that fits your needs, your budget, your body. Cruiser or not, the right bike is the one that makes you ride more, not just look cool standing still. And if you are a cruiser fan, that's fine too. But know the market is changing. And if brands want to survive, they'll have to change with it. I'm Matthew from Autozium. Ride what makes you happy, and I'll see you out there.